Understanding the type of buyer that might buy your business may be more important than you think. Let me explain. First thing to really understand that a lot of people don't is that 75% of transactions when you're selling your business don't make it from the heads of terms to closing. Of the ones that do make it to closing, half of those don't deliver the results people expected. So getting the right buyer in the first place is critical. When we examine why that happens, the answer is always cultural fit, almost always. And so understanding and getting the right buyer is key to making sure that those odds are defeated, so to speak. Now, what is a good buyer? A good buyer is basically someone that you feel good about, someone you trust, someone that can take your baby. You know, a lot of people think when they sell their business, it's like a property and they're just trying to get the most money for it and that's all they care about. My experience is that people say they care about money, but when we actually get into it, buyers care about what we call legacy. Legacy means they care about their employees, they care about their customers, they care about their baby carrying on and being a better version of itself after the sale. And it's very important that they have a buyer that they trust is going to be able to take the business in that direction, and that they can also trust if there's deferred payments to make after the fact that their payments are going to get made. So there's also a practical aspect. What are the types of buyers that might buy your business? Well, basically they come in a couple different categories. The first category is trade, or we call strategic buyers. These are what you would expect. And it's typically the buyers people expect to buy their company, which are trading companies, someone in your sector, someone doing something like you're doing, that wants to acquire your company because it has customers they want or a business area they want or something like that. That's kind of straightforward. The advantage of a trade buyer often is they understand your sector, they have management and things like that. They can come in and actually understand your company from day one, and that's helpful. A lot of times they're well-funded, not always, but that can also be helpful. The disadvantages of a trade buyer is that, a lot of times a business sale can be a chance for your key employees to step up and actually run the business. And of course, if someone just like you buys your company, those people are simply going to become employees of their company. That's one of the disadvantages. The other disadvantage of a trade buyer is they often don't buy companies all the time. And so they're not that good at it, or they're not paying attention all the time. And so the opportunity to engage with them is limited, but they can also be very good buyers. Another type of buyers is quite the opposite of that, which is an individual or a person that's keen on buying a company that probably has business experience and wants to, rather than start their own company, buy a company and can be trained by you to run your company. Now, the advantages of this kind of scenario are that if you get the right person with the right background, the owner can train them to take care of their baby. They can train them the way they want them trained. They can mold them. They can literally, it's sort of a handing off of the chalice to the next generation. So this can be very helpful. We've had a lot of success with this. The disadvantage of an individual, of course, sometimes is they're not well funded. Not always. A lot of times they have backing. So if you get someone like that with good backing, they can be a great solution for your business. Another type of buyer is what we call buying groups or investor buyers. Not quite private equity yet, we'll get that into a minute, but these are groups of people that form companies to buy companies. They tend to be trained in how to do this. They've done many acquisitions before. Because they're a group of people, they tend to be in groups of people with complementary skill sets. So one will be finance, one will be commercial and things like that. They tend to be very good at buying and integrating in your company. The disadvantages to them are often they're not sector specific. Often they're not well funded, but they can be a very good option. It just depends. It's very individualized for this type of buyer set. The last type of buyer is a private equity buyer. Private equity are FCA regulated. They actually take investor funds and they buy companies as their business model, and they're very, very good at it. So they can come in and they're very good at replacing what we call the X factor leader. One of the challenges in a business sale is that the guy running it, you, the seller, tends to be an X factor leader. You're a very special type of person that's been able to lead this company through thick and thin and build something great, which you are now selling. Well, when you leave, there's a leadership void, not a management void, but a leadership void that has to be filled somehow. In the previous buyer classes, it's typically being filled by the person coming in, and it's very important to evaluate whether that person can fill that void. If it's a private equity group, they're very good at creating 5-year plans, getting non-exec chairmen, putting CFOs in place, and they're very good at taking your business to the next level. One of the advantages of private equity is they're very well funded and they're good at this. And they typically will take your key people and promote them into leadership positions and give them sweet equity. And so it ends up being a quasi-management buyout. So this can be a good kind of buyer. The disadvantages with them is they tend not to deal with smaller companies. So if your EBITDA is under $1 million, they definitely won't look at you usually, unless you're in a specialist sector with something that's hot and up and coming. generally their cutoff is around $1.5 million in profits in order for it to be interesting. Because they're FCA regulated, the sale process is a big lift for them, and so they don't want to work with smaller companies. So these are the buyer types. The key with choosing any buyer is choosing someone you trust. Remember, cultural fit is why most deals don't get to the end. Remember, there's a 75% failure rate. So if you can spot early that you find someone that you, at a heart level, that you trust, that you think can actually understand your business and take it to the next level, you have a much better shot at getting to the end and a much better shot of value being delivered at the end. Where do we find these buyers? Well, that's something that we do. I work for Transworld. We're the largest in the world in the small business space. We're international with 250 offices. We have a buyer search team that uses all kinds of means to find different types of buyers, people you never would have thought of. And the idea is to create lots of choice. So think of Match.com. It's kind of like a dating process in the beginning with buyers that you're getting lots of choice. We whittle that down to highly qualified buyers, and then you get to meet them, and we even call it the first date to see if you get on with them, because we're always checking cultural fit very early on. So that's how we find them. Often we use our networks and things like that as well, but it's always good. The important thing is that you have choice. You're not just, the guy in the village and there's only 5 girls to marry. You want to go to the big city and have enough people to look at to make sure, because you're only going to do this once usually, and you're only going to have one buyer. It's important to get it right. Well, hopefully that was helpful. The purpose of this series is to help people that are new to selling their businesses understand the process. What we found with a lot of our clients is they had never been exposed to the business sale process. And so what we're trying to do is provide some basic education to help you engage with the process a bit better and work with advisors in a more intelligent way. So hopefully this was helpful. If you would like to subscribe, if you could click the button. Also, I have a book that I wrote called Selling Your Business, which is 18 chapters, going through all the different aspects of selling your business. Again, specifically aimed at people new to selling their businesses. I'd love to offer you a free copy. If you look in the description box below and click, there's a free flip book version. We'd also be happy to send you a paper copy. Good luck on your business sale process.